First up, our team in black and white, the Reservoir Dolls. First up is number 27 centimeters, Blitz Siren. Next up is P1MP, Buster Crimes. Next, W01F, College Wild. Number 33 is Charlie Hustle. Skating in at number 18 is Full Frontal Judity. Number 366 is Gene Lane. Number 565, Glockness. Number 30 here, it's Hopscotch. Number 1213 is Knocking Jay. Followed up by number 31, Lady Hoo-Ha. Number K155 is Lip Smacker. Number 4 is Mouse. Number 1776 is Rebel with a Cause. Followed up by number 8, Sasspot. Next we have number 9mm, Shenanigans. And at 10-inch, it's Sprouting a Tail. Number 77 is Stank Girl, the Stench Wench. Number 50 is The Heat. Next up we have number 54, Violet Fire. And number 6 is Wipeout Scout. The Reservoir Dolls are supported on the bench by Clara Path, Dutch Oven, and Pretty Reckless. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2015 Reservoir Dolls.
And going up against the Reservoir Dolls this evening in gold and red, your 2015 Unholy Rollers. Skating in number 10 for the Unholy Rollers, Abby Negative. Abby Negative in number 10 there. And 800M, Bada Boombox. Number 65, Blanche Devereaux. B222, Bumble Beatdown. Number 247, Dive Hard. B1T, Fang Dangled. 314, Gertrude Awakening. 1618, Goldie Mean. Number 8, Handcuffs. 847, Hello Sailor. 73 BC, I Am Spazicus. D4, Magic Missile. 131, Molly Tov. 48 UM, Micro Mauler. Number V5, Scarlet Osneria. 987, Splatter Alice. Number 22, Tango de Muerte. C7, The Manipulator. Number 13, Twisted Halo. And number 27, Wildberry Punch. Supported on the bench, the Unholy Rollers have El Machete, Rita Slayworth, and Shrimp Trampy. They're normally here, but it looks like Blanche Devereaux and Wildberry Punch are going to be benching for the Unholy Rollers tonight. Let's hear it for the Unholy Rollers. Get bit, ladies.
And of course, what bout would be complete without our skating and non-skating officials? Starting with our skating officials, we have Eddie Lizard, Stabby McDudebro, Johnny Zebra, Howie Swerve, Death Knell, Bjorn to Kill, Thaco, and Chaotic Neutral. Our non-skating officials are Rack Romaniac, Modus Pones, Captain Emo, Keister Bunny, Shown Up, Brazzle Dazzle, Frida Wheel, Mr. Welch, Dread Gazebo, Squeaky Fromage, Jezebel O'Kitty, Diaphragm, Irene Adler, Roadblock, Misinformed, and Agru.
And we're going to be starting with some jammers on the Plan B jammer line. We've got Mouse, number 4, jamming for the Reservoir Dolls first up here. Up against number 105, for the Unholy Rollers, Scarlet Osneria. Mouse getting up to the front, fighting against Molotov, and she gets past Molotov and Die Hard, and is your lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls.
Yeah, Mouse just snuck right on outside right through the outside lane there.
Scarlet Osneria, she gets herself through the pack and is skating around the track, trying to get back to score some points. But it looks like Mouse calls the jam off before the Unholy Rollers can score any points, starting the Reservoir Dolls off with 4 points and the Unholy Rollers with 0.
I'd like to quickly remind you guys to, if you have a moment, tend on down to the Dairyland Dolls table near the entrance, and you can buy some wheels for the DD wheel toss. That's 1 wheel for $3 or 2 for $5. We will be having that contest at the halftime of this bout.
And up on the Plan B jammer line, we've got Gertrude Awakening for the Unholy Rollers. She'll be skating up against Charlie Hustle of the Res Dolls, wearing the star. Both skaters getting into the pack right away. Gertrude Awakening knocked to the inside and having to recycle around, while Charlie Hustle is lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls.
Looks like Gertrude Awakening picked up a forearm penalty and is going to be spending 30 seconds in the Monkey Bar Gym penalty box. That gives a power jam to Charlie Hustle and the Reservoir Dolls. As she did, Charlie Hustle did just pick up a Mini of Madison Grand Slam, grabbing 5 points for her team.
And she's fighting up against Micro Mauler, Goldie Mean, and Twisted Halo of the Unholy Rollers, trying to branch out that pack definition and bridge so that their blockers in the front can hold back that jammer. Charlie Hustle makes it through for another Mini of Madison Grand Slam and then calls off the jam right as the Unholy Rollers jammer is released from the penalty box. That brings the Reservoir Dolls total up to 14 points. Unholy Rollers still at 0.
Looks like we do have a Triple M 2-minute promise official timeout. So we'll take a moment here to read a shout out. Sam and Brittany, Burble, Lady Burble, and Josh. The Robster has noted your presence and is pleased.
We've also got another shout out. Happy Derby-versary to Warrior, Crooklyn, Sly, Saucy, Yomo, and Canada. Can't wait to keep knocking all of you down. Happy Derby-versary.
All right, looks like that official timeout has ended. We just need to take a moment to adjust an issue with the time clock, but everything is sorted now, and we are back in the action.
We've got Shenanigans jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. She's up against Molotov of the Unholy Rollers. Both jammers fighting their way to get through, and it looks like Molotov is released from the front of the pack first. That means she is the lead jammer for the Unholy Rollers.
It looks like Shenanigans has broken through the pack. However, she is not the lead jam, and she's actually going to have the jam called off on her by Molotov before she can get around to score any points on that pass.
Molotov quickly stepping through 2 of the Res Dolls to get past and score points and then quickly call it off. She Unholy Rollers. And for the Unholy Rollers, now we've got Scarlett Osnaria on the jammer line for the Plan B jammer line, up against Mouse, number 4 for the Reservoir Dolls. Scarlett Osnaria fighting against Stank Girl, the Stench Wench, the Heat, Loch Ness, and Full Frontal Judity. Mouse getting through the pack, and she is lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls.
Looks like Scarlett Osnaria is going to break through on the outside. She is, however, not lead jam. Mouse is going to get through, pick up 4 points, and then call off the jam. Very good call there. That does bring the score to Reservoir Dolls 18, Unholy Rollers 4, with 26 minutes remaining in the half.
And that's a quick lead started by the Reservoir Dolls. They continue to get lead jam and then call off the jam before the Unholy Rollers can score any points. They'll need to work on getting lead jam here. We've got Gertrude Awakening on the Plan B jammer line for the Unholy Rollers. She's going up against Blitz Siren of the Reservoir Dolls. And it looks like Gertrude Awakening around the outside. She's out first and lead jammer for the Unholy Rollers. Blitz Siren being held up by Tango de Muerte, Dive Hard, Handcuffs, and Bumble Beatdown on the Unholy Rollers.
Looks like Gertrude Awakening is back up to try to work on her scoring pass.
She's caught behind Busted Crimes and knocked to the outside. She does call off the jam, but scores 3 points first and keeps the Reservoir Dolls to no points scored during that jam. That'll bring the Unholy Rollers up to 7 points. The Reservoir Dolls at 18. And we want to thank another one of our sponsors, Anala Salon and Spa. Locations at Hilldale and on Atwood Avenue. It's a Derby-owned shop, and you might even get your hair cut by the Unholy's own Blanche Devereaux.
Speaking of the Unholies, it looks like we have Molly Taub up jamming for the Unholy Rollers, with Hopscotch up jamming for the Reservoir Dolls.
Both jammers fighting against a wall of blockers from the opposing team, working their way back and forth across the track, trying to make some headway and get through. Molly Taub makes it through for the Unholy Rollers, and she's the lead jammer.
Yeah, it looks like Hopscotch almost made it to the front of the pack, but then got knocked out of bounds and recycled to the back of the pack. So she is still going to be working on getting through so she can start her scoring pass.
Molly Taub fighting against the wall of blockers on the Res Dolls, including Full Frontal Judity, Blitz Siren. I'm sorry. We got Stank Girl, Shenanigans, Lip Smacker, and Call It a Wild. And that jam is called. That ends the jam. Unholy Rollers have 8 points. Reservoir Dolls at 18. Another shout out to Alex. I'm so gay for you, dude. Love, Benny?
Looks like Benji.
Benji. Love Benji. Benji's gay for you, dude.
All right,
Alex.
Next jam starting. We've got Mouse jamming for the Reservoir Dolls and Scarlett Osnaria up for the Unholy Rollers.
And we did see these two jamming against each other just a few jams ago. And it looks like Mouse has gone to the penalty box.
I believe that was for out-of-bounds blocking.
Yep, out-of-bounds blocking. That'll give her 30 seconds in the Monkey Bar Gym penalty box. She's followed closely by Stank Girl, the Stench Wench, heading to the Monkey Bar Gym penalty box. And that leaves Scarlett Osnaria for the Unholy Rollers, skating in a power jam.
That's definitely a strong position for the Unholies, with only 3 blockers on the track and no jammer.
Scarlett Osnaria is the jammer for the Unholy Rollers. All eyes are on her as the Reservoir Dolls blockers try to keep her back, but it looks like the Unholy Rollers are doing a good job of getting up and playing a little bit of offense for their jammer, Scarlett Osnaria. Scarlett calls that jam off right as Mouse enters from the penalty box. She points on that pass. She brings the Unholy Rollers score to 13. Reservoir Dolls 18. Just a 5-point difference here in the bout.
Looks like we do have another official timeout.
And that'll be a Triple M 2-minute promise timeout. While we have that official timeout, we'll remind you to get your wheels that you'll be able to toss during the halftime of this bout. Buy your wheels either at the Dairyland Dolls table, right next to the Madison Blaze table when you walked in, across from the merchandise table, or some of the Dairyland Dolls might be walking around selling tickets for you to exchange for wheels right before the half.
So it sounds like the result of that official review was Scarlett Osneria had illegally called off that jam. So she has been given a penalty for that, and will start this next jam in the penalty box.
All right. And I think that means if Scarlett was not lead jam but did call the jam off, if the referees actually call the jam off for her, then the jammer that's not lead jam actually gets the penalty because she was not able to call the lead jam, the jam off.
Looks like we have Charlie Hustle here jamming for the Reservoir Dolls, taking lead jam.
And it looks like it took her a whole track pass there to get through and get lead jam, but the Reservoir Dolls slow that pack down so Charlie Hustle can get around the track and start her scoring passes. She's fighting against the Unholy Rollers there.
Yep. Scarlett Osneria has been released from the penalty box and is now fighting against the Reservoir Dolls blockers. Looks like we have Jean Lane, Blitz Siren, and Sasspot back there. Scarlett Osneria does sneak through on the inside. However, she is not your lead jammer.
And Charlie Hustle is in the pack, fighting against the Unholy Rollers, trying to get some points there. She calls the jam off after scoring 2 points during that pass. But she has brought the Reservoir Dolls lead up to 25, Unholy Rollers at 15. 10-point lead for the Reservoir Dolls.
I'd like to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors. A shout out to Ian's Pizza. 2 downtown locations offering carryout and delivery. Salad, pizza, vegan and gluten-free options. www.ianspizza.com. Here to help, one slice at a time.
Also, our Feed the Doll sponsor tonight and one of our great sponsors, the Glass Nickel Pizza East. In pizza, we trust. It's making me hungry talking about all this pizza.
Oh, I am looking forward to that Feed the Dolls moment when we get to eat some of that sweet, sweet Glass Nickel pizza.
Now we'll get you back to the action here on the track. We've got Gertrude Awakening, just called as lead jammer for the Unholy Rollers. She's up against Shenanigans, jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. Out of the pack, not lead jam, but close behind. Ger is making her way up to the pack. Gertrude Awakening calls off that jam. She sees all the Unholy Rollers skating behind the Reservoir Dolls. She makes a strategic decision to call the jam off before either her or the Reservoir Doll jammer can score any points.
Looks like we have lining up on the Plan B jammer line. We have Mouse jamming for the Reservoir Dolls and Molly Taub up for the Unholy Rollers. Jam begins. Mouse working her way through the middle of the pack. Molly Taub still towards the back, working her way against Glock Ness and the Heat. She does get around on the inside, although Mouse has already taken lead jam.
Molly Taub trying to get right on Mouse's heels as she just slips around that track.
It's like
Speedy
Stank Girl.
little jammer. And Mouse calls the jam off after scoring a couple of points there for the Reservoir Dolls. Looks like she got 2 points. Calls it off before Molly Taub can score any points for the Unholy Rollers. We want to thank another one of our sponsors, WSUM 91.7 Madison Student Radio. WSUM 91.7, the snake on the lake.
All right, the next jam has begun. We have Fang Dangle jamming for the Unholy Rollers and Blitz Siren wearing the star for the Reservoir Dolls.
And Blitz Siren goes to the inside initially, but then takes a quick step out and around the outside of her blockers to get through. Blitz Siren, lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls, now coming around and on her point scoring pass. Fang Dangled still has yet to get out of the pack for the Unholy Rollers.
Now, it looks like she's fighting up against Charlie Hustle, Jean Lane, and
Busta Crimes.
Busta Crimes, yes.
She's up against some hard blockers on the Reservoir Dolls. Blitz Siren getting through the pack. She's coming around again, trying to fight through Splatter Alice, Dive Hard, and Handcuffs to get some more points for the Reservoir Dolls. I think that last pass was an official star pass, Grand Slam, a Minnie Madison Grand Slam.
Oh, very well done.
For Blitz Siren. This time through the pack, she gets 4 points. And that leaves the Reservoir Dolls with 32 points. Unholy Rollers with 15. But we still got plenty of time here in the first half of this bout.
Yeah, let's hear it for these two teams.
All right, how many of you are out here cheering on the Unholy Rollers? And how many folks want to see those Reservoir Dolls win this evening? And both teams fighting hard out there on the track. We've got two jammers out there. Tango de Muerte makes it out first for the Unholy Rollers. Tango is your lead jammer. And we got Hopscotch for the Reservoir Dolls.
Yeah, it looks like Tango de Muerte going to be weaving her way through the pack, meeting up with a bit of resistance once she gets to the front with the Reservoir Doll blockers. Ends up calling off the jam since Hopscotch was starting to get there, get pretty close to being able to make her scoring pass.
I think Hopscotch scored 1 point there. The Unholy Rollers bringing their total up to 17 points. Reservoir Dolls at 37.
Like to remind you again, if you have a moment, to head on down to the Dairyland Dolls table to buy wheels for the wheel toss. You have about 15 minutes before we stop selling those, and we're going to get towards selling that stuff for doing the wheel toss during the halftime.
And we've got Mouse jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. She's your lead jammer. The Manipulator jamming for the Unholy Rollers. She's brought to the outside and recycled around to the back, fighting against Glockness and Stank-Girl the Stench Wench in the back. She fights her way through the pack, but meanwhile, Mouse makes her way around the track and gets a Minnie of Madison Grand Slam for the Reservoir Dolls. Mouse making her way through the track and calls that off. The Manipulator jamming for the Unholy Rollers comes in a little too fast and hot to the back of that pack, and it looks like she knocked down a Reservoir Dolls and did get called on a back blocking penalty. So that'll send her to the Monkey Bar Gym penalty box. Monkey Bar Gym, where Derby girls work out to be strong enough for Derby. Thank you to them for being a great supporter.
Looks like a timeout has been called by the Unholy Rollers. That'll give us a moment to read out a few shout-outs here.
And we've got a shout-out here. Michelle, we've been rolling for 11 years. Let's not call off this jam. I can't wait to marry you, Michelle. I love you. And you will like it.
I'd like to give another shout out to one of our sponsors, Mad City Music, Madison's best selection of new and used vinyls, CDs, and more.
Looks like we got a shout out here to one of the Quad Squad members. Sequin is the best. Love, Shannon, Gale, and Grace. So Sequin, I don't know if we missed this one or if it just got put in during the last bout, but if you're out there, you are the best.
Timeout has ended. Got skaters back up on the Plan B jammer line. Got Charlie Hustle jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. However, the Manipulator is sitting in the penalty box as the jammer for the Unholy Rollers.
That'll have the Reservoir Dolls starting this jam with a power jam. And Charlie Hustle makes it out of the pack. She is lead jammer. jamming unopposed. The Reservoir Dolls slowing it down in the back of the pack. Looks like they do speed it up a little bit right as Charlie Hustle is hitting that pack, trying to play a little bit of offense for her as she goes through to score points.
The manipulator has been released from the penalty box and is back on the track, working her way through the pack, spinning around Jean Lane on the outside.
And great footwork by the manipulator there, spinning her way around in and out, but it looks like she was called off the track for another penalty. Looks like a track cut penalty. Manipulator will go back to the penalty box, while Charlie Hustle is still lead jam. She does call that jam after another Minneapolis Grand Slam. The Reservoir Dolls bringing their lead up to 59 points to the Unholy Rollers 17 points.
There's going to be another really strong position for the Reservoir Dolls to start in, starting in a power jam situation with only Shenanigans up as a jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. The manipulator still hanging out in the penalty box for the Unholy Rollers.
And Reservoir Dolls line up on either side behind the wall of Unholy Rollers there. Their blockers go up and try and play a little bit of offense for their jammer Shenanigans. Shenanigans trying to get past the blockers on the Unholy Rollers. Looks like they've got Molly Tov, Splatter Alice, Fang Dangled, and Bumble Beatdown working against the Reservoir Dolls jammer, trying to fight her and slow her down, either knocking her to the inside or keeping her slowed down so she can't score as many points. And Shenanigans makes it out. Shenanigans makes it out of the pack.
Well, she is followed quite closely by the manipulator.
And it looks like Shenanigans just got 2 points that last pass through the pack. Sometimes the jammers can not score points, but also not get a penalty. It's called the no pass, no penalty. So if it wasn't a significant reason why they didn't pass the person, maybe that other skater was out of bounds when they passed them, they still can't score the point on them, but it is no penalty. So that's where a jammer might not score all 4 points on a pass. We got the Reservoir Dolls at 60 points, Unholy Rollers at 17.
Yeah, it looks like the manipulator has a chance to step down from jamming for the Unholy Rollers for this jam. Jamming for the Unholy Rollers, we have Tango de Muerte with Mouse jamming for the Reservoir Dolls.
And Mouse gets knocked to the outside by Scarlett Osneria. Scarlett sent out to the Monkey Bar Gym penalty box. And meanwhile, Mouse gets out of the pack. She is your lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls. Tango de Muerte out of the pack, but not lead jammer. And it looks like Halo, Twisted Halo from the Unholy Rollers, knocking Mouse to the inside, recycling her around to the back. Mouse takes a few quick steps, though, and gets past the remainder of those blockers and calls off the jam. Getting 4 points for the Reservoir Dolls.
Yeah, that does further widen the skill gulf here, the score gulf here. Looking at Reservoir Dolls 64, Unholy Rollers 21. We have 10 minutes left in this half.
And lining up on the jammer line for the Unholy Rollers, we've got Fang Dangled, and for the Reservoir Dolls, Blitz Siren, both with the stars on their helmets, jamming for their teams. Blitz Siren making her way up to the front. She gets lead jammer status for the Reservoir Dolls. Fang Dangled stuck behind Busta Crimes, Jean Lane, Charlie Hustle, and Sassbot of the Reservoir Dolls.
Looks like Charlie Hustle gets called out on a penalty. She'll be spending 30 seconds in the Monkey Bar Gym penalty box.
And Blitz Siren makes her way through the pack, and that's a Minneapolis Grand Slam for the Reservoir Dolls, with Blitz Siren scoring 5 points that last pass.
Looks like Fang Dangled still fighting up against Busta Crimes and Jean Lane.
Finally making it out of the pack. That tired her out, I'm sure, as the jammer for the Unholy Rollers.
That looked exhausting.
But she keeps skating her way around, trying to score some points. Meanwhile, it looks like the Reservoir Doll jammer, Blitz Siren, is sent to the penalty box. When a skater is sent to when a jammer is sent to the penalty box, if she was the lead jammer, she then loses that lead jammer status. So there is no longer a lead jammer in this jam, and the remainder of the jam will be skated out, fang-dangled with the power jam for the Unholy Rollers. And she makes her way past Busta Crimes and Jean Lane, scoring a Minia Madison grand slam for the Unholy Rollers. Just what they need to decrease this point differential. Blitz Siren coming in and blocking Fang Dangled there from the penalty box.
Oh, that was a hard-hitting jam. That was a lot of hurt going on in that one.
Both the Unholy Rollers and the Reservoir Dolls have some hard-hitting blockers on their teams. All the teams do here have some hard-hitting blockers, but I know as a skater on this league, when I go to practices and line up against some of those Unholies and some of those Reservoir Dolls that I've played against, I know I'm going to be hit hard, and you got to prepare for that. So now, jamming for the Unholy Rollers, we've got Splatter Alice, and she is lead jammer for the Unholy Rollers.
It looks like we have Hopscotch jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. Still working against, it looks like, Micro Mauler and Gertrude Awakening of the Unholy Rollers. She did end up picking up a penalty and is going to be spending 30 seconds in the penalty box. That does give Splatter Alice a Mini of Madison grand slam, picking up 5 points for her team.
And she's got a power jam now. Another Mini of Madison grand slam for Splatter Alice. That's just what the Unholy Rollers need to decrease this score differential.
Yeah. Looks like she's going to be trying to make her way through the pack again.
And I'm sorry. I was just amazed by that play there. Twisted Halo going up to play a little bit of offense for Splatter Alice, who makes her way through for another Mini of Madison grand slam. Hopscotch back on the track from the penalty box. She skates through, not lead jam, but she is now going to be trying to score some points for the Reservoir Dolls. Splatter Alice up against Call It a Wild. Gets knocked down.
It looks like Splatter Alice picked up a back block penalty, so she will be heading down to the penalty box.
And I did see Splatter Alice up against Call It a Wild when she knocks into a jam or a blocker, either a blocker or a jammer knocks into them. If they fall down and that jammer or blocker is able to pass or significantly change their place on the track, that is a major penalty. So she was called out for that. Hopscotch back on the track there. She scored 4 points for the Reservoir Dolls in that last pass. And now the Reservoir Dolls are going to start with the only jammer on the track.
Yes, indeed. Looks like that jammer will be Mouse. Going to take a quick moment here to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Malot's Pharmacy. Locations on Madison's east and west side and new locations in Lodi and Wanakee. They have costumes, wigs, and theater makeup. Back to the action here. The jam has begun. Mouse juking back and forth, trying to get around the Unholy's defense. Looks like she's still having a little bit of problems there with Molly Taub and Dive Hard.
Mouse brought back to the back of the pack and recycled around. She has to get back through. Up in the front again, knocked to the outside by Molly Taub. Meanwhile, Splatter Alice back on the track for the Unholy Rollers. Neither jammer has made it through the pack, so there still is yet to be decided if there is a lead jammer. Got a tough jam for both of these jammers.
Yeah, it looks like Mouse finally breaks through those Unholy blockers, takes lead jam for the Reservoir Dolls.
And Unholy Roller Jammer Splatter Alice gets through the pack. Mouse back around. She's fighting past Unholy Rollers. And she calls off the jam after scoring 2 points for the Reservoir Dolls. We got a few shout outs here. Shout out to Greg. I'm not perfect, but I still want to be on your team. Let's keep pivoting and jamming together. Love, Cole. P.S. Love to 2 great kids, Grayson and Kyler. You can place your shout out over at the merch table. Support our bout sponsor or our bout charity tonight.
Yep, still
Safe
time to
harbor.
get down there. Also still time to buy some wheels for the Dairyland Dolls wheel toss at the halftime of this game. Speaking of this game, we have Charlie Hustle, who's taking lead jam for the Reservoir Dolls. She is jamming against Gertrude Awakening for the Unholy Rollers, who has just made her way through the pack. However, she is not your lead jammer.
And Charlie Hustle up against the Unholy Rollers. She gets through the pack, calls it off, scoring 4 points, I believe. 4 for the not the Unholy Rollers, the Reservoir Dolls.
All right, have another shout out here to MED from Evan Donnellan. You're the bestest and my little Martian. Love, D.O.
Lining up on the jammer line for the Unholy Rollers, we've got Tango de Muerte jamming against Shenanigans from the Reservoir Dolls. Shenanigans not only playing on the Reservoir Dolls this year, but she's also your captain, one of your captains for the Dairyland Dolls. Tango de Muerte also on the Dairyland Dolls.
Looks like she has picked up lead jam for the Unholy Rollers. She's about to work on making her scoring pass, followed closely by Shenanigans.
And Tango pushes her blocker out of the way and into the pack so she can get through and score 4 points for the Unholy Rollers. Shenanigans gets up to the pack and scores a point for the Reservoir Dolls. And it looks like the Reservoir Dolls have 88 points. Unholy Rollers at 56.
We are coming up to the halftime of this bout, which means we will have 2 activities for you guys. First off will be the cupcake eating contest. We'll be looking for 3 volunteers for that. And then followed up closely by the Dairyland Dolls wheel throw. Getting back to the action, we have Mouse jamming for the Reservoir Dolls with Splatter Alice jamming for the Unholy Rollers. Splatter Alice is taking lead jam. However, Mouse is hot on her heels.
Yep, Splatter Alice jumped up front there against a wall of Reservoir Dolls, but snuck through on the outside. She gets knocked down, taken to the inside, and calls off that jam before either team can score any points. We want to thank another one of our sponsors, Ameriprint Apparel, custom screen printing and embroidery, located in Sun Prairie. You might find some Ameriprint Apparel over at our merchandise table. Thank you to Ameriprint Apparel, who does some custom screen printing for our very own Mad Rollin' Dolls merchandise.
See, up jamming here, we have Gertrude Awakening jamming for the Unholy Rollers with Blitz Siren up for the Reservoir Dolls. Gertrude Awakening fighting against, it looks like, Sassbot and Charlie Hustle. She does break through, becoming lead jam for the Unholy Rollers.
Nice footwork on the outside line, staying in bounds. And she is coming around to the pack again. Gertrude Awakening knocked to the outside by Jean Lane and taken to the back of the pack. Recycling to the back of the pack, but she gets right back in and fights her way back through that pack. Blitz Siren, not lead jammer, but she is coming up around and gets through that pack, scoring 4 points for the Reservoir Dolls.
Looks like a lot of Unholies are taking a trip to the penalty box right now. Their pack strength is significantly diminished.
That allows Blitz Siren to sneak up and through that pack, getting a Minia Madison Grand Slam for the Reservoir Dolls. Gertrude Awakening calls the jam off for the Unholy Rollers. She does get 4 points for that pass.
That does bring us to the halftime. So we will have our cupcake eating contest and wheel throw.
Wow, we've also got another number to call.
All right, looks like we're getting back to the action. We have Tango de Muerte jamming for the Unholy Rollers, and Hopscotch is up for the Res Dolls. Looks like Hopscotch is going to take lead jam for the Reservoir Dolls. While Tango de Muerte is still fighting against a wall of black and white.
And Tango makes it past Shenanigans, getting out of the pack. She's not lead jammer. That would be Hopscotch. She comes around and through the pack, calls the jam off as she gets knocked to the inside.
Has some nimble footwork there, narrowly avoiding what looked like could have been a painful crash.
Exactly. She scores 4 points for the Reservoir Dolls, and it looks like that breaks the century mark there for the Reservoir Dolls. They're at 101 points to the Unholy Rollers, 59.
It's like up on the Plan B jammer line, we have Mouse jamming for the Reservoir Dolls and Splatter Alice wearing the jammer star for the Unholy Rollers.
And Mouse has lead jammer status for the Reservoir Dolls. Splatter Alice still trying to fight through and get past Glockness and the heat there on the Reservoir Dolls. Mouse through the pack. She picks up a Minia Madison Grand Slam for the Reservoir Dolls and increases their score to another 5 points ahead of the Unholy Rollers.
Well, it looks like we're going to have Charlie Hustle jamming for the Reservoir Dolls, and Molly Taub is up for the Unholy Rollers.
Both jammers lining up on that Plan B jammer line. Remember to join us tonight for our after party at Plan B. There'll be some root beer bong drinking for those that are staying sober.
Root beer pong, I believe.
Root beer pong, not root beer bong. I gotcha. Sorry.
And of course, if you have had too much to drink tonight, feeling a little tipsy, please make sure to have a safe ride home. Make a safe choice. Cab is cheaper than a State Trooper's ride. Getting back to the action.
Molly lead jammer, Molly Taub for the Unholy Rollers. She's followed right behind by Charlie Hustle on the Reservoir Dolls. And it looks like both teams back to full strength on the track as full frontal Judity comes in from the penalty box.
Looks like that jam gets called off by Molly Taub. Think there was only 1 point put up on that jam?
Yep, 1 point for the Unholy Rollers and no points scored for the Reservoir Dolls. That brings the Unholy Rollers to 60 points. Reservoir Dolls at 106.
Another quick shout out here. Hi, Emily and Josie. What's up? So hello to Emily and Josie. Looks like the jam begins, and right away, the Unholy Jammer Tango de Muerte picks up a forearm penalty, gets sent to the penalty box.
Shenanigans fights her way through the pack, and she gets through. She is lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls. And the Reservoir Dolls lining up slowly behind the Unholy Rollers, playing a little bit of quick offense there as Shenanigans gets to the front of the pack. Shenanigans getting taken to the back of the pack. It looks like Splatter Alice, knocked her to the inside. Splatter Alice went back further than Shenanigans entered the track, and I believe Shenanigans picked up a track cut.
Yep, it does look like that's
for
what happened.
entering the pack prior to the person that had knocked her to the inside.
That is a good situation for Tango de Muerte and the Unholy Rollers. This gives them a power jam and an opportunity to bring back some points.
And Reservoir Dolls blockers fighting against Tango de Muerte. She does make her way through the pack and gets a Minnie Madison Grand Slam for the Unholy Rollers. Tango de Muerte, though, runs right into Sassbot of the Reservoir Dolls, knocks her down, and as she skates past her, that becomes a major penalty. So Tango de Muerte sent back to the penalty box. And Shenanigans back on the track, but not before she gets called there, going through that pack, for a track cut as well. Both jammers over in the penalty box. As Shenanigans is entering and sits down, Tango de Muerte is released from the penalty box. And that jam expires after 2 minutes.
Looks like the Unholies didn't score any points on that last pass. The Res Dolls picked up 3. And the Res Dolls will start with their jammer Shenanigans in the Monkey Bar Gym penalty box on this next jam.
And you know what, Rich? I believe we forgot to give some of the group shout-outs that are here tonight. So I want to make that mention now. Hopefully these groups are still here. We want to welcome Woods Hollow Children's Center to the bout tonight. Thank you, Woods Hollows. And we also want to welcome the members of the Health and Society Scholars Program to the bout tonight. If you're interested in discounts for your group, email group tickets at madrollindolls.com at least 10 days before any bout. We can get you some group sales to the bout. Mad Rollin' Dolls would like to welcome the students from DeForest High School to the bout tonight. So thank you to ScanCon, Woods Hollows Children's Center, Health and Society Scholars Program, and students from DeForest High School. All of you groups out here at the bout, we thank you for your support. We want to thank you to all of our fans out watching this bout tonight. Please make sure to get over and pick up some tickets for our next bout. Our next bout coming up pretty soon. It's going to be just a couple weeks away. Next bout is Saturday, April 4th. You're going to watch the Vaudeville Vixens take on the Unholy Rollers. That'll be followed by the Quad Squad versus the Reservoir Dolls.
I do have a little bit more information about this timeout we're taking here. Apparently, the Reservoir Dolls are challenging the second penalty that was made against their jammer against Shenanigans. So I believe that was a track cut penalty. So that's being reviewed now.
All right. And as they take some time to review that penalty, we'll take some time to give a shout out to some of our sponsors. We'd like to thank Tex Tubbs, Taco Palace. They have casual and fun atmosphere where you can choose from an assortment of delicious chef-crafted tacos and thirst-quenching margaritas. Serving till 11 p.m. on weekends, Tex Tubbs on Atwood Avenue, where they have never served jackalope, and they never will. Also the Wisco, the birthplace of the Mad Rollin' Dolls, Willie Street Pub and Grill, and Good Times Emporium. Call it what you like, it's the Wisco. Ultimate Arts, another great sponsor, the area's finest custom studio. They specialize in doing as much original work as possible for their clients.
So we have a little bit more information about that penalty assessment. The penalty is upheld. So Loch Ness is Shenanigans is keeping that track cut penalty. And additionally, another penalty has been assigned to, I believe it was 366, because one of the bench managers was talking to their player in the penalty box. So an illegal procedure was assigned.
And that's on the part of the skater in the penalty box gets that penalty, correct?
I believe so, yes.
I don't think they can issue a penalty to the bench staff because it wouldn't really do too much.
Yeah, doesn't keep them from doing much.
No, they can't skate out there anyway, so the player that was talked to will be receiving that penalty.
Give a quick shout out to another one of our awesome sponsors, the Malt House, Madison's craft beer oasis, located down on the corner of East Wash and Milwaukee Street.
Right in my neighborhood.
Mine too. It's one of my favorite watering holes.
We also want to thank One Barrel Brewing Company, right next to Tex Tubbs Taco Palace. One Barrel Brewing Company at 2001 Atwood. Beer that's handmade in small batches with love.
Looks like the jam has resumed. Gertrude Awakening is out jamming for the Unholy Rollers with Shenanigans still sitting in the penalty box for the Reservoir Dolls.
Gertrude trying to get past Mouse on the Reservoir Dolls, being knocked out and taken back around. She's knocked to the inside by Glockness. Meanwhile, Shenanigans out of the penalty box. She makes her way through the pack and is called lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls. Gertrude Awakening fights her way through the pack.
Well, looks like Shenanigans is going to call off that jam after picking up 4 points on that pass.
Right as the Unholy Rollers jammer, Gertrude Awakening was about to hit the pack. Strategically calling off that jam. It looks like Reservoir Dolls now are at 113 points. Unholy Rollers at 65. Not still a bigger difference in points, but nothing that the Unholy Rollers can't take back if they play this game right.
Yeah, all that really takes is a few good power jams. Get some of those Mini of Madison Grand Slams under your belt.
Yep, also just getting lead jam and calling that jam off time after time can get those Unholy Rollers points and get them slowly working their way back.
That hit it and quit it strategy.
Blitz Siren jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. She's taken to the outside by a couple Unholy Rollers, but comes back on the track, not going back to get behind where those Unholy Rollers were. So she is called off the track for a track cut penalty. That'll send her to the penalty box. And that leaves Molly Tov, jammer for the Unholy Rollers, as the sole jammer right now on the track.
Yeah,
she has a power jam, and it looks like Molly Tov is lead jammer for the Unholy Rollers.
Yep, she worked her way by Sasspot and Charlie Hustle. So now she's going to see if she can make something happen here, get some more of those Grand Slams.
And
looks like
she goes up against Charlie Hustle in the pack, but she gets some offensive help from some of her blockers on the Unholy Rollers. Blitz Siren now back on the track for the Reservoir Dolls, jamming for them. And Molly Tov will be jamming, fighting against Sasspot and Charlie Hustle. Looks like Busta Crimes also just joined that pack in the back. And they're taking Molly to the outside, making her go around again. But she calls that jam off before Blitz Siren can score any points for the Reservoir Dolls.
Yeah, there's some very solid defense going on by it was Fang Dangled and the Manipulator up there, keeping the Res Dolls jammer back for a long time.
That's
there were
right.
a number of times they snuck up in front of her. I thought she was going to get away.
It's a tough game out there for these skaters. They have to play simultaneous offense and defense at times. Doing one or the other can allow that opposing jammer to get by or block your jammer from getting through. Now we've got Splatter Alice on the track jamming for the Unholy Rollers. Splatter Alice is lead jammer for the Unholy Rollers. Looks like Hopscotch jamming for the Reservoir Dolls.
Yeah, she does get by Goldie Mean and Hannah Cuffs.
And Splatter Alice getting past almost all of the Res Dolls, but knocked to the outside and recycled back by Shenanigans.
Yeah, that does allow Hopscotch to get through and pick up 4 points for her team.
Splatter Alice still fighting past the blockers in that pack.
Yeah, it looks like she had been cycled back to the back by Stank Girl the Stench Wench. And now it's almost again by Shenanigans, but Shenanigans was called out on a penalty.
And Hopscotch, meanwhile, gets through up to the front of the pack. That jam is called off, and it looks like Unholy Rollers at 72 points Reservoir Dolls at 122 points. We still got about 20 minutes left in this period.
Yep, still more than enough time to make up that point difference.
And 5 seconds left on the Plan B jammer line. We've got Mouse, number 4, lining up for the Reservoir Dolls, up against number 22, Tango de Muerte, for the Unholy Rollers. Mouse is sent off the track, it looks like, for an elbows call. She'll spend some time in the Monkey Bar Gym penalty box.
Yep,
Meanwhile,
that does make Tango de Muerte the lead jammer for the Unholy Rollers. She's going to work on making her scoring pass here.
and Tango de Muerte has a power jam with the Unholy Rollers. She gets through, knocked around a little bit, but scores a Minia Madison grand slam for the Unholy Rollers. That's Tango de Muerte coming around again, making her way past the Heat, Shenanigans, and Full Frontal Judity. Hit to the outside, but gets right back in.
And in the meantime, Mouse has been released from the penalty box and is now has blown right through the pack and is working on making her scoring pass.
And Mouse gets through, but not before Tango calls it off after another Minia Madison grand slam for the Unholy Rollers. That's 10 points for the Unholies, bringing them to 82 points. Reservoir Dolls at 122. That's narrowing the gap between the Unholy Rollers and the Reservoir Dolls.
Oh, most definitely. To take a quick moment to read a shout out, we have Happy 35th Birthday, Dread Gazebo. Stay impervious to adventurers for another 35. Love, Grace.
And he's sitting right here next to me. Happy birthday, Dread Gazebo. We've got Molly Tov out there on the track for the Unholy Rollers. She's your lead jammer. She's jamming up against Charlie Hustle of the Reservoir Dolls. Charlie through the pack, but not lead jammer.
Like Molly Tov working up against Jean Lane Sassbot, and it looks like Glock Ness.
And that jam is called off, but not before Reservoir Dolls score 3 points to the Unholy Rollers 3 points. So 3-3 for that jam. Bringing them both up another 3 points. We'd like to thank one of our sponsors, Our Lives Magazine, celebrating the LGBTQA community and improving readers' quality of life. Also, thank you to Rockabetty's Salon and Spa. Rockabetty's is a spa and salon that offers an array of unique and fun services, such as nail parties and makeup services.
Back to the action. We have Splatter Alice jamming for the Unholy Rollers. Blitz Siren jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. Looks like Blitz Siren has taken lead jam for her team.
And Dive Hard of the Unholy Rollers trying to play some last-minute defense against Blitz Siren, but she still gets lead jam. And out of the pack, Splatter Alice coming up to the pack behind her. And it looks like Splatter Alice scores 1 point. Blitz Siren calls it off, and 2 points are scored for the Reservoir Dolls. Another shout out, thanks for the cupcakes. Gigi's Cupcakes stand. They were good. Sincerely, Grace.
All right, looks like lining up on the Plan B jammer line, we have Mouse wearing the star for the Reservoir Dolls and Gertrude Awakening jamming for the Unholy Rollers.
Gertrude Awakening fights her way through the Reservoir Dolls up and around the outside. She is your lead jammer. Mouse of the Reservoir Dolls right on her tail and passing her up on the track. Gertrude Awakening and Mouse going to be fighting their way through the pack, seeing who can get through first to score the most points. Both jammers through, both scoring 4 points.
At this point, Gertrude Awakening is still the lead jammer, so she could call off the jam if she so pleased. But she's going to go another round against Mouse.
And it looks like Mouse gets up there, gets through the pack on 1 foot, scoring 4 points for the Reservoir Dolls. Gertrude Awakening getting right through behind her, scoring 4 for the Unholy Rollers, and she calls that jam off.
Let's see, I believe that brings our score now to Reservoir Dolls 135, Unholy Rollers 94, with just under 15 minutes remaining in this half. I believe a timeout has been called by the Unholies. All right, we'll take a moment there to read off another sponsorship shout out here. I'd like to give a shout out to Papa Murphy's. Every Papa Murphy's pizza is built to perfection with exactly what you want. Then you take it home, pop it in the oven, and serve it fresh to your family. That's what we call love at 425 degrees. Visit us at 6718 Raymond Road.
All right, we've got another shout out, and this one asks me to say it loud. So Josie Perez, this shout out says, you are awesome. Josie Perez is awesome. XOXO. Woo-woo. And some lightning bolts, it looks like.
Hearts and lightning bolts, no less.
Hearts and lightning bolts. Another shout out to Kates of Hell and TBD. And your happily ever after. Kates of Hell and TBD must be 2 Derby folks. And they must be a couple.
Yeah, makes sense.
So happily ever after to you two. Lining up on the jammer line for the Reservoir Dolls, we've got Charlie Hustle. She's going up against Molly Tov of the Unholy Rollers.
So it sounds like that timeout was called by the Unholy Rollers as an official review. However, they did not have anything they wanted to review. They just wanted to use the review as a timeout.
And if they don't actually review anything, they do get that official review. If it doesn't go their way, then it's taken as a timeout. If it goes their way, then they're not charged a timeout. So this would just be like an additional timeout that the Unholies took. And we've got Molly Tov out of the pack. She is not lead jammer, but it looks like Charlie Hustle is lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls. And she has just scored a Mini Madison Grand Slam. That's another 5 points for the Reservoir Dolls. Molly Tov fighting her way past a wall of black there with Jean Lane, Busted Crimes. Blitz Siren and Full Frontal Judity. She gets through, but not before Charlie Hustle does and calls it off.
It looks like Charlie Hustle did pick up a Mini of Madison Grand Slam on that last pass, getting 5 more points for the Reservoir Dolls. That brings our score to Reservoir Dolls 144, Unholy Rollers 98.
And I got an interesting shout out here. It says the first ever spy cam. Kiss the person next to you for a chance to be on the big screen. Now I know we don't have a big screen, but 3, 2, 1. Kiss that person next to you now. And maybe the spy cam will pick you up on the big screen. I think that one probably should have been said a little bit sooner.
Maybe a bit.
Now
Well, so back into the action, we have Splatter Alice taking lead jam for the Unholy Rollers, followed closely behind by Shenanigans jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. Looks like both jammers are going to approach the pack. Splatter Alice going to take her way on the inside, calling off the jam as she slips through the pack, picking up 4 points for her team.
Shenanigans snuck past the Unholy Rollers there and picked up 4 points for the Reservoir Dolls as well. Both teams playing hard out there tonight, giving it their all. Let's hear it for the Unholy Rollers. If you are here cheering on the ladies in red and gold.
And how about hearing it for the Reservoir Dolls?
All right, thank you, fans. Let's hear it for both of these skaters. Mouse playing a little bit of defense here. Both skaters slow start, but Tango de Muerte jamming for the Unholy Rollers. She gets out first, and she is lead jammer. Followed by Mouse on the Reservoir Dolls, jamming for them. And Tango makes it past her Unholy Rollers, but has to get up, or calls the jam off as she's stopped by a wall of Glockness, the Heat, Stank Girl, the Stench Wench, and Full Frontal Judity. She doesn't score any points, but I think that Mouse did sneak by as the jam was being called and got past one of the Unholy Rollers, picking up 1 point for the Reservoir Dolls.
We do have another shout out here. Spotted. Micro Mauler tearing up the track. Who will be her next victim? XOXO, Gossip Girl.
And it looks like we've got Gertrude Awakening out, jamming for the Unholy Rollers. She's going up against Blitz Siren, jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. Both jammers still fighting to make their way through the pack.
Yep.
Unholy Rollers trying to keep Blitz Siren back. They do manage to knock her to the inside. But she's out, and Blitz Siren is lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls. Gertrude Awakening still fighting past blockers, Busta Crimes, and Charlie Hustle.
Looks like Blitz Siren really going to town with the Unholy Blockers at the front of the pack. Looks like we have the Manipulator up there, Bada Boombox.
And Hello Sailor working together to try to keep the Reservoir Dolls jammer to the outside, to the inside, and to the back of the pack.
Yeah, they did end up knocking Blitz Siren out and recycling her almost halfway around the track.
Yeah, instead of that pack going forward, that pack was going backwards, trying to get those jammers to go back all the way to the back of the pack. That slows the jammer down and avoids her from getting through and around to score more points. And it looks like Blitz Siren calls the jam off, or did that expire? I think she called it off.
I believe that was called off, yes.
She scores 5 points for the Reservoir Dolls, and that brings them to 154. Unholy Rollers at 103. Still about 9 minutes left in this jam. Let's hear it for both teams. Who out there is cheering for roller derby?
All right, next jam is started. Looks like we have Hopscotch jamming for the Reservoir Dolls with Splatter Alice jamming for the Unholy Rollers. Both jammers still working their way through the pack. Looks like Hopscotch is almost taking lead jam.
And Hopscotch fighting her way up the inside as Shenanigans and Call It a Wild work together to take Splatter Alice to the outside. They recycle her all the way to the back of the pack. Meanwhile, Hopscotch coming back through the pack and on her point scoring pass for the Reservoir Dolls. She's having to fight up against Fang Dangled, Hannah Cuffs, Dive Hard, and Goldie Mean. And it looks like Splatter Alice trying to take her to the outside. She calls off that jam. Scoring some more points for the Reservoir Dolls, bringing their lead to 159 against the Unholy Rollers, 103.
Would like to take a moment to give a quick shout out to another one of our sponsors, Rockabelly's Salon and Spa. Rockabelly's is a spa and salon that offers an array of unique and fun services, such as nail parties and mobile wedding hairstyles and makeup services. Yes, they come to you for your special day.
And on the track up at the Plan B jammer line, just passing it now, we've got Molly Tov jamming for the Unholy Rollers. She's up against Mouse of the Reservoir Dolls. Mouse making her way through the pack first. She is lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls.
And it looks like Molly Tov is not far behind her.
And Mouse trying to jump the apex. She's knocked to the inside by Tango de Muerte, but makes her way back around. And skips and steps and jumps right through there.
Looks like just a pile of chaos going through that pack.
But Mouse gets around the outside and scores 4 points for the Reservoir Dolls. We also want to thank our sponsor, Roman Candle Pizzeria. Roman Candle is a place where family, friends, and neighbors can gather for good times and even better pizza. I was at Roman Candle this afternoon with my friend Stevie Knox.
Oh.
She used to be on the Vixens with me. She came into town to see the bout, and we enjoyed a delicious pizza down at Roman Candle.
Oh, glad to hear it. All right, looks like our jam has started here. We have Fang Dangle jamming for the Unholy Rollers with Blitz Siren up for the Reservoir Dolls. Fang Dangle is broken out to the front, taking lead jam for her team.
Both jammers knocked around there. Blitz Siren knocked to the ground, but Fang Dangled stayed up and got lead jam. Blitz Siren still trying to fight past Bada Boombox, Hello Sailor, and the Manipulator of the Unholy Rollers. Fang Dangled coming back around the pack, and she skips around the outside of the Reservoir Dolls wall, scoring 5 points, a Minnie Madison Grand Slam for the Unholy Rollers. Blitz Siren, not lead jammer, but out of the pack on her initial pass. Fang Dangled back around, fighting past some of the Reservoir Dolls.
And it looks like she's been knocked out of bounds a few times, but fortunately for her, she hasn't been recycled too far back in the pack.
She's been quick, able to get back and through or get up and around before. And she calls off that jam before Blitz Siren can score any more points for the Reservoir Dolls. That brings the Unholy Rollers to 109, Reservoir Dolls 169.
Like to give a little bit more love to one of our sponsors, Super Duper. We offer digital offset letterpress and hand silk screen printing, and we specialize in CD and DVD packaging and manufacturing. Super Duper. Cool.
And back to the action on the track. We've got Splatter Alice jamming for the Unholy Rollers. She's going up against Shenanigans on the Reservoir Dolls, and Shenanigans out first, smiling as she's the Reservoir Dolls, and this jam's lead jammer. Shenanigans using her footwork on the inside line. She gets 4 points and calls it off quick for the Reservoir Dolls.
Things are really getting down to the wire here.
They sure are, and it's still anybody's game, even though there's just 4 minutes left here, folks. So if you're an Unholy Rollers fan, let's hear it. Let's shout out. Cheer on those Unholies. If you're cheering for the Reservoir Dolls, let's hear it for them. And jamming for the Reservoir Dolls, we've got Mouse going up against Tango de Muerte. Mouse makes it out first, but she is called on another forearm, on another penalty, a forearm penalty, it looks like, will send her to the Monkey Bar Gym penalty box, leaving Tango de Muerte a power jam for the Unholy Rollers. Unholy Rollers get that pack moving, and Tango gets through for a Minnie Madison Grand Slam. Another 5 points for the Unholy Rollers.
This could be the break that the Unholies need.
And the Unholy Rollers trying to hold one of the Reservoir Dolls back, keeping the pack in the back, leaving Tango de Muerte to block her way through there. It looks like Glockness on the Reservoir Dolls knocks Tango de Muerte to the inside, recycling her back and around. Meanwhile, Mouse back on the track for the Reservoir Dolls. And Tango de Muerte calls off that jam, but she also picks up another 5 points and another Minnie Madison Grand Slam for the Unholy Rollers. Unholy Rollers taking a timeout here. That'll give us a few more minutes to thank a few more of our sponsors. Vintage Brewing Company, another sponsor of ours. They're a family-owned and operated brew pub in beautiful Madison, Wisconsin, featuring elevated Americana cuisine. They've got an eclectic array of highly acclaimed house-made brews. Stop in for a beer and a bite and enjoy some Midwestern hospitality, as well as their chilled-out retro ambiance. They love what they do and love sharing it with you. Vintage Brewing Company. Also, another sponsor, the Willie Street Co-op. We want to thank them. They're a full-service grocery cooperative specializing in natural, organic, and locally produced foods.
While we're waiting for this this timeout to run its course, we have another shout out to another one of our sponsors, Nutsy Mutts and Crazy Cats. Nutsy Mutts and Crazy Cats, the best place to shop for your dog, cat, or chickens. Whether you're looking for food, fun, or fashion, that's the place. They have 2 locations on Lakeside and Midvale.
And lining up now on the Plan B Jammer line for the Unholy Rollers, we have Gertrude Awakening with the star. And for the Reservoir Dolls, Charlie Hustle will be jamming. Both blockers up against tight walls of, both jammers up against tight walls of blockers on the opposing team. Fighting their way through, Charlie Hustle trying to make her way past the Unholy Rollers.
Looks like she finally gets around Fang Dangle once she's gotten a little too far from the pack.
And Charlie Hustle is lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls. Gertrude Awakening trying to fight past Busta Crime, Sassbot, and Jean Lane there. She gets through as Charlie Hustle around the track and back in the pack on her scoring pass. She's getting knocked all around there. She calls the jam off. And it looks like Charlie Hustle scores 2 points for the Reservoir Dolls. Their score goes up to 175. Unholy Rollers at 123.
Yeah, we are down to 1 minute and 16 seconds left on the clock. So this could well be our last jam. But if it gets called off before a minute, then we can go on to more.
This is a great song, Rich. I love it. Sing it with me now. Say in heaven, love comes first. We'll make heaven as a place on earth. Ooh, heaven is a place on earth.
Oh, glorious. Glorious.
That's right out there, making a dance party. Let's cheer for these teams. Woo! Let's hear it for Roller Derby. Thank you all for coming out to the bout tonight. This is a great sport played by all kinds of wonderful women. We've got wonderful men and women who support us, not only in this league, volunteering their time to do what we do, but also all of you out there in the stands. We thank you, fans, for being here for us.
Getting back to the action, looks like we have Hopscotch jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. Tango de Muerte up for the Unholy Rollers, excuse me.
And it looks like Tango de Muerte has been one of the top point scorers for the Unholy Rollers tonight. Charlie Hustle, one of the top point scorers for the Reservoir Dolls, with Hopscotch right behind her, right behind Blitz Siren, actually, all scoring up in the 20s, 30s, and 40s for points.
All right, looks like Hopscotch is going to break through, taking the lead jam for the Reservoir Dolls.
And Tango de Muerte skating around, a down skater there, makes her way back, or through the pack. Not lead jammer, but around the track. Hopscotch trying to get past Goldie Mean, last blocker of the Unholy Rollers. Looks like Goldie knocks her down and out. But Goldie might have went down before Hopscotch did, and that might have been a low block, sending Goldie Mean to the Monkey Bar Gym penalty box.
Yeah, it looks like that means Hopscotch gets a Mini of Madison Grand Slam, picking up 5 more points for the Reservoir Dolls.
And that is what maybe the Unholy Rollers needed, was a Grand Slam, but the Reservoir Dolls just increasing their lead. And as I say that, it looks like Hopscotch is called off, sent to the penalty box, just as Tango de Muerte has been put back on the track. Tango de Muerte on the track and scoring a Mini Madison Grand Slam for the Unholy Rollers. Looks like Tango just has a few more seconds in this period to try and score as many points as she can for the Unholy Rollers. She makes her way through, and another Mini Madison Grand Slam by Tango de Muerte. That's 2 for her.
Just in time as the jam clock runs out. That does bring us to our unofficial end of the bout, with the Reservoir Dolls at 182, Unholy Rollers 133.
And the Unholy Rollers did a great job fighting against the Res Dolls. They just couldn't make up the points that the Res Dolls scored in that bout. Let's hear it for the Reservoir Dolls, the second bout of the night's winners. And that is the final score. Reservoir Dolls winning with 182 points. Unholy Rollers with 133. Thank you both to all of the great skaters on these teams for giving us a great show tonight. Thank you, fans, for coming, and be sure to go over and say hi to your favorite skaters at the fan zone, or the team zone there, the fan zone, where both the Unholy Rollers and Reservoir Dolls will be there to greet you.
We would like to remind everybody to be sure to ride home. Choose your vehicle tonight. Choose it wisely. If you've had too much to drink, please be sure to get a safe ride home. Don't endanger yourself and others. Get a safe ride down to our after party at Plan B, where, remember, your ticket stub will get you in for free, where you can hang out with all of us and with the Mad Rollin' Dolls.
And if you are the designated driver tonight, thank you, but come on down to our after party anyway. You'll have a chance to play root beer pong. That's right, beer pong is one of those games that's come out in the last few years in colleges, but we're going to have root beer pong for all of you designated drivers or folks that don't want to drink beer. Come on down to Plan B, celebrate with us. Teams will be at the fan zone at the end of this bout. We want to also give a thank you to our primary sponsors. We had Plan B sponsoring the Jammer line. Also, our after party tonight is at Madison's favorite gay bar and dance club. Be out, be proud, just be Plan B. Sponsoring the penalty box tonight, we want to thank Monkey Bar Gym, where Derby